Welcome to the presentation on the use of Grants Online. The topics we will cover in this session are security and access to Grants Online, what Grants Online is used for, the grants process, some tips for the use of Grants Online, and how to apply for legal aid for your client. This slide covers security and access. Firstly, it's important to read the terms and conditions of use of Grants Online. These are linked from the Grants Online login page and the Grants Online page on the Legal Aid New South Wales website. The principal of the law practice must be registered for Grants Online. Every Grants Online user in a law practice must have their own username and password, and usernames and passwords must not be shared. All users must comply with the terms and conditions of use of Grants Online. The law practice administrator can update the law practice's details and must add any new users. All users in the law practice can update their personal details, such as phone numbers, in Grants Online. You can also choose whether to receive email notifications when items are posted to the Grants Online inbox. Changes of name of the law practice, ABN, or GST registration status must be notified to the Legal Aid New South Wales Service Desk. The Service Desk also upgrades users set up by the law practices to practitioners. The law practice must notify the Service Desk if a practitioner leaves the practice. The Legal Aid New South Wales Service Desk can also assist you with questions about the use of Grants Online. We'll now look at the functions of Grants Online. Grants Online is your portal for dealing with the Legal Aid New South Wales Grants Division. You use Grants Online to submit applications, extensions, correspondence, claims, transfer requests, Legal Aid Review Committee appeals, file outcomes, and duty lawyer tax invoices. Grants Online is also used for correspondence inquiries and updates. The Grants Online inbox contains all the correspondence your law practice has received from grants and copies of any documents you have submitted via Grants Online. Grants Online inquiry functions provide information about the grants assigned to your law practice. You can also update your details and update client details, such as changes of address or phone number, or updates to means information. On this screen, you can see the inquiry functions in Grants Online. The inquiry functions give you information about the grant, the client, other parties, the scope of aid, and any contributions payable. The grants process. Each grant starts with an application. Legal Aid New South Wales makes an initial decision on the application either to grant or refuse legal aid. This decision might be made on the application alone, or grants may need to ask for more information via a requisition. In some cases, particularly in civil law or in criminal appeals, the first approval will be an authorisation under Section 33 of the Legal Aid Commission Act to investigate the merit of the application. This is not a grant under Section 34 of the Act, but operates in a similar way. The law practice will be notified of the decision via the Grants Online inbox. Your client will be notified by email or post. Each grant has a scope of aid. By that we mean the fees and disbursements which have been approved. This scope indicates what Legal Aid New South Wales will pay for the work which has been assigned. We will not pay any fees which have not been specifically approved. Similarly, we will not reimburse any disbursements which have not been specifically approved or any disbursement costs above the dollar limit approved. We issue an online pro forma invoice which sets out all the fees and disbursement work items that have been approved. If legal aid is refused, your client generally has a right of appeal to the Legal Aid Review Committee. There are a few exceptions to this, such as refusals on means in local court criminal law matters. There is also no right of appeal against the scope of aid or the allocation of a particular law practice, whether that is the in house practice or a private practice. All appeals are reviewed by grant staff before going to the review committee, and the application may be redetermined at this internal stage without the need to send the matter to the committee. During the grant, if you require additional funding, that is, additional fees or disbursements, you can lodge an extension request. The fee scales have some restrictions on when additional fees or disbursements can be approved. During the application or grant process, you may need to respond to a requisition from grants. If at any point your law practice is unable to continue to represent the client, you should submit a transfer request to enable grants to allocate the grant to another law practice. Where additional costs will be incurred, grants will only be reassigned in exceptional circumstances. So if your client withdraws instructions from your firm, we will consider whether the grant should be reassigned or should be terminated. Make sure you submit the file outcome when the matter is finalised. This gives us valuable reporting information and financial data. Plus, it gives us accurate information on how many current matters each law practice is holding. It also avoids any inadvertent breach of Section 41 of the Legal Aid Commission Act if the client returns to your law practice at a later date. Some tips to help you with the use of Grants Online. Grants Online works best with Edge or Firefox, so stick to these browsers to avoid any unexpected errors. If you are searching for a file or application, use minimal search criteria. You don't have to fill in all the fields in the search screen. The fewer fields you fill in, the better the chance of finding the file. Grants Online is set to time out after 20 minutes of inactivity, so save your work regularly, including when you have to work on something else, such as taking a phone call. If you do get interrupted, remember to check for draft application requests next time you're working on a file to avoid redoing work you've already done. Where you see the pick list icon, which is shown there on the screen, this usually means you have to select an option from a list rather than just typing into the box on the screen. Send correspondence only via Grants Online. Don't send hard copy material or send an email in addition to Grants Online correspondence. Any paper correspondence we receive is destroyed after scanning, and duplicate copies of material can cause delays. Once a form or correspondence has been submitted via Grants Online, we will have received it and it will be already linked to the grants file for your client's matter. There is no need to alert us to the request via a separate email. If you need to provide supporting documentation with an application or extension request, attach these documents to the application or extension in Grants Online. To avoid delaying your application or extension, make sure the questions on the form are fully completed and options are selected accurately. To apply for legal aid for your client, you first need to select an application template. Application templates are categorised by law type and by jurisdiction, which is the broad area of work, such as summary crime, indictable crime, criminal appeals, family dispute resolution, care and protection for adults or children, family law or civil law. Look at all the templates for the area of law before selecting the correct template for your application. Choosing the correct template means you answer questions appropriate to the jurisdiction and get the right fees. For example, make sure you don't use a summary crime template for a committal or vice versa. Different templates have different questions, and there is a lot of logic built in behind the questions on the form. For example, choosing an incorrect matter type or giving incomplete means information may result in additional questions or reduced automation of your application. When you're completing the application form, choose email correspondence for your client if possible, unless, for example, they're in custody and can't receive email. Don't use your own email address for the client. If it's not safe for the client to receive any correspondence personally, tick the box Send all correspondence to my lawyer only. Don't forget to opt your client in to receive SMS updates on their application via the grants tracker so they know what is going on with their matter. If your client receives a Centrelink benefit, they can consent to Legal Aid New South Wales checking their entitlement directly with Centrelink, which saves you time in obtaining verification of means. Make sure the client's name, date of birth, and CRN are entered exactly as they are in Centrelink's records. When you submit the application, you'll be certifying that the application complies with policy and any merit test, and certifying that your client's means are accurately set out in the application. So check that you are familiar with these eligibility tests. See the modules on policy and Policy Online for more information. Some applications will give you a choice of fee and disbursement work items. If this is the case, select what you reasonably require. Some selections will require additional explanation or justification to be provided. In other cases, the fee and disbursement items will be standard for all applications. Extension requests are used when you need additional fees or disbursements to continue to represent your client in the matter. The fee scales set some limits on what can be approved. Choose the correct extension template. For example, if the initial approval was for a committal, use the committal extension template if you need more fees for the committal stage, such as council's fees. Use the trial or extension template if the matter has progressed to the district or Supreme Court. Or in family law, if the matter has progressed beyond family dispute resolution to court, use the Family Law Commonwealth, Children, Recovery, Property Enforcement, Child Support and Divorce extension template. Remember in the extension to update any client details which have changed and to update any matter or court details. We hope you found this information useful. If you have any questions about the use of Grants Online, please contact the Legal Aid New South Wales Service Desk. Thank you.